And welcome everyone to our Bleacher Report AP Top 25 reaction. I'm Andy Katz from NCAA.com, TNT Sports, and of course Bleacher Report. Look, before we dive into this was a very slow week, maybe one of the slowest that we've seen in a long time over the holidays. Obviously, college football is dominating, but we're going to get to, I thought, a couple of significant moments this past week in the Mountain West and in the Big Ten for two particular teams. So there was action right up in Hawaii over the holidays, and then on Saturday. And one game I did not mention or give an award to, but pretty significant that UCLA ended up beating Gonzaga. Mick Cronin had been 0-4 at UCLA against Gonzaga. Obviously, some thrilling endings. The Zags have some concerns. As good as they are, as talented as they are, the fact that they have not been able to close out a number of games. Kentucky, I was there in Seattle, saw it against UConn, and now UCLA. They obviously also lost that close game to West Virginia. So those are four close games that they were unable to close the deal on. They're going to have to do that, obviously, if they want to win the West Coast Conference, which is much more competitive this season with Washington State and Oregon State having decent seasons so far, sort of raising the level in that league. St. Mary's obviously is more than competent in terms of being a potential NCAA tournament team. And then Santa Clara and San Francisco, I wouldn't say that they'll be pushovers in any way. For UCLA, it was a critical bounce back after the previous week. I saw them in New York, and they completely collapsed in the final minute against North Carolina, a game they really should not have lost. So good reset for the Bruins. All right, let's get to the AP Top 25 poll. Not a lot of changes because there weren't a lot of games involving these teams. First off, Tennessee, Auburn, Iowa State, Duke. So it's very similar to what we saw in previous weeks. I still have Auburn 1, Tennessee 2, in large part because I think Auburn is the best team in the country. Their loss is at Duke. No shame in that at all. Tennessee undefeated, but Auburn won the Maui Invitational, beat an Iowa State team that is there at number 3. So Auburn has the best win among the top 3. You've got Duke at 4 in my poll, same as in the AP poll. Now, here's where it's interesting. Again, I want to make this clear. The AP Top 25 poll is not always about the latest result. But I just feel right now that Florida should be ahead of Alabama. They are going to play. So we're going to obviously find out where, everyone is. Certainly, now they don't play this weekend, but they are playing soon. I think it's next week. So we'll get a little determination of that. Kansas is 7, Marquette at 8. The Jayhawks, I think, are playing much better basketball right now. I had Marquette at 9, Kansas at 10. My 7 and 8 was actually Oklahoma, which you see at 12. Oklahoma undefeated. Porter Moser having his best season since he took Loyola Chicago to the Final Four in 2018. My 8 is UConn. You see them in 11. I know they've had some close wins in the Big East, but I still think they're a top 10 team at this moment. Oregon at 9. I got Oregon at 12. Only one loss. That buzzer beater, I was there when they lost to UCLA. But, their strength of schedule, it's sort of borderline whether or not they're top 10 team. I'd say right now they enter the Big Ten restart, which is this week, as one of the favorites. And we're going to get to the games to watch shortly. So Kentucky at 10. I dropped Kentucky last week and kept them at 14, in large part because they got blown up by 20 by an Ohio State team that we just don't know how good they are yet. So you got UConn 11, Oklahoma 12, A&M at 13. I have A&M at 11. I think this is Buzz Williams' best team since he's been in College Station. Now, Houston at 14. I've been kind of down on the Cougars because in each of their games against the field, teams that I'm projecting will be in the NCAA tournament, they lost all of them. They're 8-3. So I moved them after further review into my top 25 at 23, but I'm not ready to put them at top 15 because they have not done it yet. They are at Oklahoma State Monday, tonight, and that's a game they should win. If you are a Big 12 contender and you are a top 15 team against a team that's probably going to finish toward the bottom of the Big 12, you should win that game. UCLA at 15, no problem there. It's exactly where I have the Bruins after they beat Gonzaga. Cincinnati 16, I had the Bearcats at 22. Mississippi State at 17. Chris Jan's doing an outstanding job. I got them at 16, so we're in the same ballpark. I got Michigan State at 19. They're at 18 here, so we're right in the same range. I think Michigan State's playing as well as any team in the country right now. And along with Oregon and a team that I will mention here again, are a couple of the favorites, and UCLA going into the restart of the Big Ten. All right, so Gonzaga at 19. I dropped Gonzaga just outside the top 25 at 26. Again, kind of like Houston. You play close games, you look good, but you don't finish the deal. There has to be some sort of penalty for that. I know their strength of schedule, their seeding is going to be protected because they played such a strong schedule. If it were today, they'd be in the NCAA tournament. But you've got to win the games, and they've not been able to do that yet. Purdue at 20. Again, Purdue blasted Toledo, Braden Smith at 34. That's great. But when Purdue had to play up or play up here over the last two games, Auburn and A&M, they lost them both. They got to show more than that. I have them at number 32. Okay, I've dropped them. Memphis at 21. Like that a lot because the Tigers are back for me as a team in the top 20. I have them at 17. They lose at home Mississippi State. No shame in that. But then they turn around and they beat Ole Miss handily. So Ole Miss should drop out. They should drop out. So Ole Miss should drop out after losing handily on the road. Not a bad loss, but you got to have some sort of demotion from the top 25. Illinois 22. I have them at 18. I think they're, again, one of the contenders in the Big Ten. Arkansas at 23. I got them at 20. No problem there. Baylor 25. I had Baylor at 30. Again, don't have the wins yet to show for it. They've been hurt. So who else was in my top 25? Clemson at 21. I'm going to save a team here. St. John's at 24. Watch the Red Storm. They are legit. Utah State at 25. Further down, I got San Diego State at 27. Missouri 29. Michigan 28. Wisconsin 31. I talked about Purdue. Georgia 33. Penn State 34. Drake 35. West Virginia 36. Dayton 37. So the two that I just have to just pound here. So I want to reinforce this. And we can clip this for everyone to see. Maryland. I said this last week, and I'm going to continue to beat this drum. Okay? I have Maryland at 13. Maryland is 11-2. They have crushed their competition. I know the comeback to me is, oh, wait a minute, it's a weak competition. Villanova, Syracuse, so they're probably their two best wins. Who are they this season? Not as good. I know that. 2 losses at Purdue. Who's winning at Mackey? And home Marquette. So number 8 and 20 in your 8 people. And you got Ole Miss here at 24. No offense to the Rebels, but why isn't Maryland in there? Are the AP top 25 voters watching Maryland? Because based on this, where they're not penalizing anybody that loses games and not looking at a team that continues to win handily, one of the best teams defensively, one of the best teams offensively, turnover margin, where are the Terps? Now, we get to the top 10 games this week. They got a huge weekend coming up. Going to Washington, Oregon. We're going to learn a lot about Maryland this weekend, no question about it. But before that, they deserve to be in. And the other team, Utah State. Utah State has one loss. They went into San Diego State, which was ranked last week, and won on the buzzer, Still, Utah State goes into San Diego. Jared Calhoun doing an outstanding job. It doesn't matter who the head coach is there. Stu Morrill wins. Ryan Odom wins. Danny Sprinkle wins. Go back to Cone Smith wins. Larry Eustachy wins. Coaches win there. They got a chance to go to 3 straight tournaments with 3 different coaches. Odom, Sprinkle, and Calhoun. They're 12-1. The only loss, if you peel it back, was to UC San Diego. And you say, the Tritons, who are they? Well, right now, the Tritons are the best team in the Big West. So it's not an awful loss. That's a team that, if it ended today, would be in the field. We'll see if they can hold their position in the Big West. Playing better than Irvine, Santa Barbara, Hawaii. So it's one loss. And Utah State, they knocked off Iowa and Kansas City. We're going to get to basically my team of the week here in a moment, but I'm sort of releasing it for you. But they also beat St. Mary's on the road, St. Bonaventure, which has had a great year, beat them. So again, where is Maryland? Where is Utah State? I ask, and I'm not getting any answers. Clip that, please. Let's go to my player of the week. Another team that's on the cusp. That's Nebraska. Bryce Williams. The Cornhuskers won the Diamond Head Classic. Bryce Williams was the MVP. Scored 32 points in their win over Hawaii, 25 in the title game against Oregon State. He's averaging 19 a game, shooting 51%. Nebraska 10-2, 1-1 in the Big Ten. They got a win at Creighton. They crushed Indiana at home. Only losses so far for the Cornhuskers, and it took me a while to get on board, but I'm on board now. St. Mary's in South Dakota and at Michigan State. Those are only losses. Team of the week. I just mentioned them. I gave everything for you. Utah State. They're the team of the week by getting that win at San Diego State, and they should be in the top 25. Now to my top 10 games to watch. I teased a couple of these already right off the bat. The 2 home games for Oregon. I'm just going to start there at 4 and 5 for a moment here. Oregon is a Big Ten title favorite. Illinois is in the mix. Maryland's in the mix. This is a massive weekend in Eugene with Illinois coming in and Maryland coming in back to back. So Illinois, Maryland, they got to beat Washington. For Illinois, it's after Oregon. For Maryland, it's before. Because you got to get a split. Come out of this 0-2, you're in a hole. If Oregon sweeps, they're in the driver's seat. Behind UCLA, which obviously beat them. And you have to play Michigan State. But with those 2 teams, Oregon would be in a strong position. If Maryland gets the sweep, you better consider them a Big Ten title contender. Same with Illinois. Still can do it, but you get a road win in Eugene like UCLA did, it's pretty big. Look at the top of this list. Look at the SEC. Wow. We're going to have SEC games on this list every week. Florida undefeated at Kentucky. Oklahoma undefeated at Alabama. Monster games. Arkansas, John Calipari going to Tennessee. Those Kentucky-Tennessee games with him were always great. So 1, 2, 3, SEC. Sneaky good game at number 6. SMU could end up being the 3rd or 4th best team in the ACC. Duke's clearly won. Then it's in some order going to be Clemson, Pitt, SMU, Carolina. Those four are going to jockey for 2 through 4, or 2 through 5, excuse me. That's a big game. If SMU gets that home win, massive. If Duke gets the road win, pretty big. Number 7, saw this game in Maui. They're going to play 3 times. It was a non-conference game then. Let's see how much Colorado has improved. Iowa State is solid. They're not going to change a ton. They're really good, both ends of the court. Huge game for Colorado to see if they can beat them at home. St. John's at Creighton. St. John's, I think, is probably number 3 in the Big East. Creighton would like to be there. This would be a huge game for the Blue Jays if they can beat the Red Storm at home. San Diego State at Boise State. So in the Mountain West pecking order, right now, I think it's Utah State and New Mexico and San Diego State. Question is, Boise State part of that foursome? We shall see after this game. Rutgers at Indiana. 2 disappointing teams to this point. I thought Indiana would be one of the best in the Big Ten. Can they still get there? Sure. But that loss at Nebraska was a huge red flag. Rutgers, as I'm talking, they still got to play Columbia on Monday. Then you're looking at Rutgers with losses already to Kennesaw State on the road, bad scheduling, and Princeton on a neutral. Rutgers has to do its work in the Big Ten, and it begins with this game in Bloomington. They've had success there. So, and against the Hoosiers. So let's see what they can do in this game. Huge opportunity for them. All right, let's go to some questions here. So right off the bat, no Utah State in the top 25. I agree with you. No North Carolina. They have solid losses. Who have they beaten? Outside of UCLA. Great win. That's 1. So I debated whether I was going to put them in my rankings. I want more data we should see. Where's BYU? They were in my under consideration. Again, Florida's 13-0. Well, they're number 6, so I don't know what your problem is there. Again, Drake, I think, is going to be one of the harder teams to punch out in the NCAA tournament. They've got an at-large resume. I have them at 37. You could make an argument for them to be much higher. RJ Davis should be player of the week. Yeah, he set the 3-point record at North Carolina, but it was against Campbell. So I'm sorry, Bryce Williams, what he did over the week to win that tournament for Nebraska was more impressive for me. Whereas Georgia, they're in my power 37. They're not top 25 yet. What should we be looking at with conference play starting this week? Is the SEC could be an absolute bloodbath where they're just going to beat each other up. Nobody in the SEC, the Big 12 or the Big 10, I would say, is going to run away with this. No way. All 3 of those leagues, the winner is going to have a number of losses. Is that 4, 5, somewhere in that range, 4 to 6? We shall see. All the teams are too good. Duke in the ACC, I think, is going to run away with it. When is Auburn's next loss? Now you're going to make me look at their schedule. Auburn's next loss will either be at Georgia on the 18th, or it may not come till February 15th at Alabama. They got a nice little stretch here because they got a lot of home games. Home against Tennessee, home against Oklahoma, home against Florida. It's going to be tough for them to lose at home. What does Carolina have to be ranked again? I'll tell you what they have to do. North Carolina has to win. Let's look at their schedule right now. North Carolina, at Louisville, at Notre Dame. You want to be taken seriously? Those are 2 mediocre teams in the ACC. You win those games. Home SMU, winnable game, significant game. At NC State, it's not going to be easy. Then Cal Stanford at home. At Wake. I mean, the schedule lines up for them where they're all winnable. The toughest stretch for Carolina is at Pitt, at Duke, but that's not till the end of the month, January 28th and February 1st. So if they can go on a nice little roll here, the whole season changes for them. Do I believe in Jake Diebler? Well, he's certainly turned the corner right now. So significant wins in the last week for Ohio State to reset their season. I think Michigan will learn from those games they gave away, notably the one against Oklahoma and Charlotte, and then Arkansas in the Jimmy V. Both winnable games. Their potential is still to be a team that can finish in the top 4 in the Big Ten. What's Gonzaga's problem is it's been this offensive efficiency and decision-making late in the last 2 minutes. So they're right there. They could have won all these games. They could be undefeated. Should Oklahoma be ahead of UConn? For me, just double checking mine. Oklahoma. Sorry, I just lost my. Let's see, Oklahoma. So I have Oklahoma 7 and 8. So yes, I have it. Is Cincinnati legit? I believe they are. I definitely believe they are. All right. Who's my favorite right now for the national championship? It's Auburn. I think they're the best team in the country. So they are my favorite. All right. So let's wrap it up. And I will tell you that there's going to be some changes. This is a weird week because there weren't a lot of significant games that there weren't changes. But what I hope to see is if they keep winning, Utah State and Maryland next Monday. Maryland, if they win in Oregon, they better be in this poll. So a significant weekend for the Terps at Washington, at Oregon. Utah State got that win at San Diego State. They keep winning. They should be ranked as well. Appreciate everyone's time. You can always follow me at the Andy Katz on X. I'm on Blue Sky as well. Search me out there. I don't want to rattle off that long handle. At The Real Andy Katz on Instagram. Of course, follow all our work on NCAA.com. Wrote about the whole Larinaga resignation today, in addition to all our rankings and honors. So NCAA.com, March Madness MBB, and of course on Bleacher Report. Some studio this week, no games this week, games next week for me. So everyone have a great, safe, happy New Year, and we will talk to you in 2025 next Monday.